everybody. Welcome back to the Soulganize Your Life podcast. And I'm here for a second time with the great Cheri, Neal. And we haven't talked on the podcast for a year. And so we're going to get kind of a little bit of update. And then we're going to talk a lot about how great it is that she's hosting a Joy Summit that I'm going to be a part of. So we're going to get to that. But anyway, Cheri, what we do here on the podcast, just for a reminder, is that we talk about the pretty straightforward understanding that the outer experiences of our lives ding and, make waves through our inner experience. And that can either be through the egoic viewpoint, which is a psychological sort of mental activity of like feeling separate in the world and I have to struggle and do things, or we can look at things through the divine soul connection that is everywhere in all things. And I think it's really important for people to know the difference. And that's why we do the podcast, right? And this is where you're also going to come in to kind of talk a little bit about that joy does come from a soul-based perspective. But of course, we have egoic experiences around or fear around implementing something brand new in our communities. And this is something that you've been doing for 2 decades. We talked about this in November of last year, 2024, about like how you've had to have so many difficult moments and conversations. You were the first woman in Zion, right, to lead the city and to do so many cool things inside your community. But you had to first have all these difficult conversations that came from your soul. And I think that, that's what I want to keep talking about today with you as we talk about the Joy Summit. But anyway, jump back on in and keep introducing yourself as you did last time.
Yeah, well, I just appreciate so much being here. Anytime I get to be around Win Lacey, like it's a good day. She's helped me so much with her numerology. I brought her in and did some work with my entire team with numerology. And I was hiking the Camino de Santiago and had to have a session with her in the middle of Spain. And so she made time. And she's really been you've been a guiding force in my life for a long time. And I'm really, really grateful for that. So thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. And so to tell people more about you, I mean, you are the Zion what do you call it? The Zion
Zion Township Supervisor in the state of Illinois. The state is broken up in a grid system, 6 mile by 6 miles, and each area. And it was the first level of government that was put into place. And so they've made these 6 mile grids, and they asked the people that live there to choose one person that they trusted. So back then that person did the weddings and the burials, and he was the judge. If there was a fence line that somebody was trying to put in, they did that. And then everybody pooled a little bit of money together. And when somebody needed help, they would go to that person and that person would be able to help. And so that's how it started out. And it's an incredible gridded system across our state that can make an incredible impact. Unfortunately, it's gotten very political. So it's crazy, but just that I get to like be that person that like you don't do weddings and funerals or determine fence lines, but we collect a little bit of that money to be able to help residents that are in crisis, and then find any other way that we can to help make the community better. And so
what a very different viewpoint of the political elected spot you have than some other people might have about their political spot. And I know in our first session together, we talked a lot about that. And so I don't need you to keep, I'm not going to keep asking you about that job. I really want to talk a lot about like some of the difficult conversations you've had to have over the years about the Joy Summit, which I'm going to come to, and I'm really excited about. As you've talked about in the our first podcast, you were talking a little bit about some of the conversations just to help to bring beauty and joy in the form of a mural or the form of, a butterfly, something, whatever it was. You're like, it seems like not something a politician would do or an elected official, right? It's like, what are you doing? Like, you sound like the interior designer, it's like that's, but you knew the impact that would have on people because of the soul connection that you have, I think. And you continue to do this. So I kind of want to hear a little bit more about like your journey to even doing the first Joy Summit. And then now the second one that's coming up in January of 2026.
Awesome. Wow. Yeah. Thinking about like the whole journey. Well, and just to be honest, I'm pretty sure that like it started before any of this other community stuff started. So in Appleton, Wisconsin, every year they would have the Appleton Joy Conference. and Kelly Swanson, who is an incredible storyteller, she was going to speak. So some friends and I, and the National Speakers Association, we decided to go and support her at this conference. And I was mesmerized by, they create this space where they had 3 amazing speakers, an incredible lunch, a little bit of a wellness expo. And I would literally leave there 6 feet off the ground, because it's just these speakers that like infuse this amazing energy into you just to help you get through the winter doldrums. It was magical. And I went every year. One year it was a huge snowstorm. I didn't care. I put a shovel and a broom in my car to make sure I could help shovel off all the other cars that were crazy enough to get there. And I went because it became a staple in my life. And
wow, that's so cool. So you weren't thinking about how to bring joy necessarily back to Zion at first.
No,
You're
not at all.
Inspired. Okay.
It was just it was just self-fulfilling of like needing that joy infusion to get through the winter with the work I was doing. Yeah.
Oh, now it makes sense why we're having it January 31st.
Well, so the ones in Appleton were always in February, and interestingly, and so when I got up the gumption that like I wanted to put this in, right, and I only get, in the last podcast we did, I talked about like I only get 4 years, right? So if I want to do something, I don't get to wait to try and do it. I need to do it, and so I reached out to a friend who had done events, and I was like, okay, if there's this event, like, could you just like, what would be the first step? What do I do? And so she said, I would talk to executive directors from 4 different agencies and see if they'd be willing to do it with you. I was like, okay, that's a good first, just to think about it. Right. And so, so I did that, and all of them were 100% on board. 29 social service agencies, executive directors were like, I'm on the committee. I want to be a part of this. Right. And so it was amazing. It was an amazing launch. And, but I just lost my train of thought, but I will.
Well, the need that, or the, like, you didn't even know you were going to fill this like hunger that was already in all these people.
That's exactly what it was. It was so amazing to me how easily it just like came into being, right? I mean, and it really is simple. It's just so simple. But just to be honest, like, and I was very forthcoming with everybody that I talked to, was that I had an ulterior motive, right? Right? Because my community in Zion, Illinois, it has like this horrible reputation, and it doesn't deserve it. My community, it's magical. It's absolutely magical. But people have over the years, and even people that live there, like, we give ourselves a bad reputation. And so I have been on this quest to transform my community for a long time. Right. And so I went to them and I said, so I can't change the way people think about Zion. I can't change people's brain connectors, but I can change the way they feel about Zion.
Yes.
So we have a joy summit in our community. When people go home, I've rewired something inside of them, right? And so that was my ulterior motive for wanting to not just bring it to Lake County, but to bring it to Zion, but have it be a Lake County summit. So people come from all over, Illinois and Wisconsin to attend this event. And then, each person that goes, they get a gift card, a $5 gift card for businesses on our main street, to be able to, and the businesses absorb that. And just to get them into town to help to rewire them for that. Because, I mean, when you talk about ego versus soul, like, joy is the epitome of soulcanizing your life.
Absolutely. And I would think to come up to, these big, strong, maybe men that are like on your board and be like, let's talk about joy. I'm sure they're like, what are you talking about? Right. Like, was that
rolling their eyes at me for forever. Right. I mean, literally, it's like, oh, and so here's what's hysterical about it. Right. So the whole thing with butterflies and zinnias and all of it started, I think it was 2017. I spoke, we have a Zion Benton Leadership Academy, and we have a Junior Leadership Academy. And I was speaking to the kids about you can choose to be the victim of your life, or you can choose to be the creator of your life. You have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And one lady, this young lady, she's sitting there and I'm watching her face and I'm like, I couldn't tell if she was sad or mad or like her face was like contorting like and finally I'm like, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but like, I'm curious what you're thinking. She was like, okay, so I love art. I was like, okay. She was like, well, my school doesn't offer art. I go to a specialized school and they don't offer art. I'm like, huh. Okay. I was like, so I can see how you would think that you're the victim of that. I was like, but how could you become the creator of your life? And she was like, I don't know. I was like, cool. I was like, I'm going to give you my cell phone number. And when you figure something out, give me a call in a couple of days. So she calls me and she says, I figured it out. I'm like, sweet. What are you going to do? She says, I'm going to be your intern. Like, and she was like, I want to be, I was like, so in this internship, what are we going to do? And she says, I don't know. We're going to spend an hour every week on the phone and we're going to talk about how we bring art to the whole community. Okay. So our first conversation, I said, so what do you want to do? She said, I want to do murals. I'm like, yeah, we can't do murals. She's like, what do you mean we can't do murals? I was like, the city said no. I was like, so are we going to choose to be the victim of our life or are we going to be the creator of our life? I'm like, she just used on me. Right? Okay, point taken. And so I reached out to the city administrator and I said, so what would it take to change that? And he said, nothing. We're not changing it. I was like, okay. And so I went back to her and I said, okay, so that was a hard no. I was like, what can we do? And she was like, well, you got that fence behind your building on our parking lot. I was like, yeah. She was like, what if we do like a fence painting contest and just do painting on the fence? I was like, like, okay. So we did that. And so at the same time, I was working and we were, we became the mayor voted to make the zinnia, the Zion flower, right? That was in 2018. And then in 2021, we became a Monarch City USA. And so working with Jesselyn all this time, I went back to the city administrator and I asked him, I said, what could move the needle 1 inch, just 1 inch? And he said, find me a community that has less than 25,000 people that has murals and let me talk to their city administrator. I was like, okay. So I found Forest Park, Illinois. And so I got a Zoom call with the mayor and the city administrator and our city administrator. And their city administrator proceeds to give all the reasons my city administrator gave for not having murals. Like, I just shot myself in the head with that, like literally. And so then he says, like out of the blue, he says, but I got to tell you, all that said, having murals in my community changed my community. I'm like,
wow.
He said, I don't get it. I don't understand it. It changed my community. I don't understand it. And
so I live right next to Forest Park, and I can attest to the fact that the entire community gets on this bridge and they do they just what you said, like the fence design, they all put a little piece. And I walk by it. It's giving me tingles thinking about like these people put in the work and they all did it like with unbroken, experience on this bridge. And it does make a difference. And you can feel in Forest Park that they care about how their community feels. And I love what you just said about that, because I just can't imagine people sitting down saying like, how do we feel? How do we help people feel proud, joyful inside of our community? Like that to me is a revelation. And one of the things I just heard recently, which I feel like you actually embody with the idea of the Joy Summit, is they said there's a difference between being significant and successful. And I think the ego will measure success, right? Like you could measure your success as how big can I get, right? Like maybe I go to mayor and then I go to senator or whatever, and being significant is totally different. The soul is saying like right where you are.
Right.
How are you going to have difficult conversations, like you said, to move things 1 inch, one speck, and then have this other beautiful girl respond to your challenge to her, like, don't be the victim, right? Be the creator. And like, so to me, it's just like this beautiful, like, that is the soul. It doesn't force anything. It doesn't measure anything. It just, it will come in and just say like, how can I be significant right in front of the person that I'm in front of? For the community that I'm in front of. And it just became like, I don't know. It's just so cool to hear. Like,
Mhm.
I just remember you telling me last podcast, like the whole process from you going from like being the first woman remotely in the was it Kiwanis or Lions or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
and then
like,
and then you became the supervisor, and it was the first time that, and the first snowplow lady. Like, you know, it's just so funny. Like, you just, I mean, is that successful being the first snowplow? No, it's significant though. You know,
mhm.
and I feel like that
Interesting.
that is what you're doing because you're
Huh.
doing it to people that actually can receive it versus like, you know, somebody who's an influencer, you know what I mean? Like spouting something for 5 minutes and then people on the other side of the world go, oh, wow, they must be so successful. You know, no,
Mm,
that's not true. You know, it's
mhm.
just really cool. Like,
Yeah.
the way you describe this. And so I
Huh.
really, before we get too far away, like I really want you to talk about last year's Joy Summit and
Huh.
what's going to be, you know, even more joyful about this one.
Well, just to say out loud though, really quick, I just want to like round out the whole mural thing because I think it is very significant. And the thing about significance, I think, is you're responding, right? It's like this. I just keep responding to like what's the next need instead
Yeah.
of like trying to make a name for myself, right? So saying that, and then so one of the things that I've always taught in my speaking, right, when is that. When you take baby steps, right, one of three things happens, right? Either you take a step forward, which is what we expect, you take a learning step backward, right? And that's the key. If you make it a learning step, then it sets you up for quantum leaps, right? And
Mhm.
so me being willing to take the step forward and have those conversations, immediately after that, this woman reaches out to us and says that she's always wanted to paint a monarch butterfly mural in a community.
Oh my gosh.
It had become a monarch city, right? And so she had one of her college best friends is in the Guinness Book of World Records for three-dimensional murals, and he was willing to come out and help her. So we did a phone call,
Wow.
did a Zoom call, and he's like, "Well, if I get a flight," I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! No, the city said no. They said absolutely not." And he starts giggling, and I was like, "What's so funny?" He says, "Did they tell you you can't do murals?" I'm like, "Uh huh." He's like, "They're lying." I'm like, "Excuse me?" Because they're lying. They can't stop you. I'm like,
Wow, really?
"Oh my god." He said, "You cannot do, advertising, but you can paint a building any color you wanna paint a building." So I
Wow.
went back to the city administrator and I said, "David, I heard something. I'm not sure if it's true. Could you vet this out with your attorney?" He was like, "What's that?" I was like, "I was told that you can't stop me." He was like, "Excuse me?" I was like, "It's probably not true, but could you just check it out?" And so he came back a couple days later. He said, "You were right." I was like, "Excuse me?" He said, "You were right." I was like, "Right about what?" Right? Because I went to hear it, and he said, "We can't stop you." I was like, "Does that mean you support me?" He was like, "I told you we can't stop you." I was like, I am going to take that as a vote of support, right? And so we did the first, and I went back to him and the difficult conversations, right? Because I wanted him to be on the
Yeah.
team, and his three biggest concerns was that any kind of crap could go up on the walls. So I told him any we would get it vetted out and they could approve whatever we were going to do before we did it. That we would have somebody be responsible if there was graffiti, and there was never ever been any graffiti on them, just since
Oh, that's great.
um, and when they started to wear down, we would have like a strategic plan for, upgrading those. And so we started doing murals, and it has been magical. And it was funny. He and I went for a walk, and he said, "I got to tell you something that I will never admit to anybody." I was like, "What's that?" He was like, "Every time I drive by that mural," I'm like, "Yeah." He was like, "I giggle." Like, it was absolutely priceless, right? But I didn't know what we were doing, right? That we made the zinnia, the Zion flower, and they say that zinnias represent joy, right? And I had this like
Oh,
feeling of
wow.
like I cannot overcome how people feel about the city, the scarcity mode that people have, the huge deprivation, right? All of that. But what if I can just like change the way they feel by getting them to plant a seed? All right. And so we started doing that, and it has taken off so much so, which is hysterical, that every welcome to Zion sign has monarch butterflies on it, and the city seal has a zinnia on it, right? I'm like, what? I mean, because this is the Little Boy Network that was like rolling their
Yes.
eyes at me for the last 24 years.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden, everybody is buying into it.
Yes.
One of the other things, like I wanted to plant zinnias on Main Street and they wouldn't let me because they didn't know what wires were under the ground. So it took me 3 years to get them to just let me sign a form saying that if like I'll be responsible, the town, for anything that happens. And so we started planting zinnias downtown. And then somebody came up and said, I want to be a part of this. I'm like, what do you want to do? It's like, did you see how horrible your cemetery looks? Let me clean up the cemetery. Well, I wanted to do a mural in front of the cemetery, but all this gross ivy. So it's just this incredible ripple effect. And,
wow.
and so,
I want to pick up on something else that you said that I've never thought about. And maybe you don't even know you said this, but, when I think of the word creativity, right, I think of like a blank canvas and I'm going to make my mark, right? And what I'm actually hearing you say that creativity can actually be a response to something that already exists, which I've never thought about before, because really what you're saying is like, I'm hearing, I'm listening, I'm learning, and then I'm finding how can I respond to what's already there, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like even just putting a mural up or putting a little, like a butterfly on something, like that's not like somebody, going in on a blank canvas and starting from scratch and like, it's all me. Like you're not doing that, but it is still creative. Like it's actually a beautiful creativity because you're not imposing your will. You know what I'm saying? It's not like we have to walk into an art gallery and it's all Cheri's stuff. You know what I mean? There's like a beautiful like cooperation or collaboration that, again, I think the soul is putting these little finishing touches on things that already exist, that instead of like knocking it down or starting over or, whatever, you're doing this response. It's really a cool way to look at creativity. I've never thought about it like that before.
That's so cool. Well, and it makes me think about, so the last mural that we did, I found out that we have this like world-renowned artist that graduated from our high school back in 1978, and he's a professor in Chicago and Milwaukee. And so I reached out to him, and this last summer, he did 2 summers ago, he did a mural with our 4th grade, we call it youth leadership team, and a bunch of 4th graders. And we did the ribbon cutting, and it's just, it's called Art Alley, and we've got the lights above it, and it's at the coffee shop, and it's very cool. And we did the ribbon cutting for it. And one of the 4th grade moms came up and she said, I need to share something. And so she took the microphone and she said, look, my daughter wanted to be part of this so badly. And they had to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning to be able to help paint. And she was like, I was so frustrated with her. I did not want to get out of bed, but she would not leave me alone. And so I finally got up and I took her, and they encouraged me to come and paint with her.
Aww.
So I got to sit and paint this mural with my daughter, and standing here today and seeing what we got to do, it's the first time I've ever felt like I belong to this community.
Oh my gosh, that's making me
all of that. Just right. I mean, I was literally flipping through Facebook and I see this person. And so I just like, cause he had artwork behind him, and I just follow it and I read his bio and I see he's from Zion. And I mean, like literally it's response. It's like all of these clues that are left, and how do we pull them together?
Yeah. All right. So we got to move on to the Joy Summit before I let you go.
The Joy Summit. And so all of this led up to, like, we've been doing all of these things in our community. And, being at the Appleton Joy Conference, like, it was so phenomenal. I knew that we had to do it, but I didn't know how. And so there was a gal that I was mentoring in recovery from alcoholism, and she had been an event planner. And I was like, okay, so let's barter. She was, what do you mean? I'm like, I've had this like thing that I've been hanging on to for forever, and I have no clue how to do it. And she was like, well, what is it? And I told her about it. She was like, oh, well, form a team. I was like how? And she was like, well, who do you want to be involved? I'm like, I'm thinking like all the different social service agencies, the townships. And she was like, okay, so who are your top 4 executive directors of social service agencies? And so I had coffee with each of them, and I had them at hello. It was amazing. The foundation executive director said, I'm going to be in charge of fundraising. I'm going to raise the money for this event.
Wow.
And it has been so we had 29 different agencies that said they want to be a part of it.
Wow.
And magically, it's just our 2nd year, but it's 3 insanely amazing speakers, right? And we pay most of the money that we're fundraising for is for the lunch and the speakers.
Mhm.
because we only want the best of the best. And
Yeah, one of the speakers is on this podcast and will be also showcased. Her name is Amber.
yes, Amber Sweener,
Yeah,
she's
yeah, yeah.
amazing, right? And then hopefully you'll get Jason Katecki. Hopefully that'll work out.
Yeah.
He's one of the other speakers, and just incredible. And then Dr. Pritchett is the third speaker, and so she has a conflict, so I haven't been able. But all three of them in their own right, and the entire purpose of this event is that people come for one day. Doors open at 8 a.m. We're done at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's three amazing speakers, a very good lunch, and a wellness expo, which
Mhm.
Ben will be a part of. And
Yep.
it's just this day. It's like going in for like when you have to like detox, right? When you have to detox from alcohol. This is a detox from life to like just get a reinfuse. Some people go for the vitamin B shots, right?
Yes.
This is a vitamin joy shot.
Yeah.
And I love that, like the Joy Summit, right? The zinnias and joy and the monarch butterflies. It's like weaving
Yeah.
this theme for my community.
Well, how often do you walk into any space where every person is intention is to talk about or share joy?
Joy.
I don't know where. This
Right?
is it. This is going to be it for me. You know what I mean?
It
You
is.
know,
It
I'm a
is.
therapist, so I go in and it's, a lot of doom and gloom sometimes. So, yeah, I love this idea. And so for, you know, for this one, do you foresee it being any different than last year? Maybe if people came last year and they're like, oh, well, I already saw it. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
what's going to be different this year besides me?
Right. And besides well, and that's the really cool thing about it is like each year the speakers, it's a completely different experience, completely
Yes.
different
Okay.
experience,
Okay.
right? What they speak on, how they impart it. We're making it a point to have a huge diverse array of speakers each year. So we have different perspectives, different cultures.
Mhm.
But so long as their focus is on like how to infiltrate your life with joy. And
Um,
so, right. So some takeaways on what to do. This year, the first 100 people at least that register get a calendar that Jason Katecki, the opening speaker, created, which
oh,
it's just
nice.
the coolest calendar.
Yeah.
The different, the expo, we have a ton of just different people that are all joy infusers. One of the requirements for being one of the exhibitors at the expo is like you have to be invested in bringing joy to the world.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
So
amazing. And
yeah,
I
and the
know
lunch is really good. So yeah, it's very fun.
And I know Amber is specifically, she's like, it's going to be interactive. Like,
Mm.
don't think I'm just going to be talking to you. I'm going to be getting you up and doing things. So that's really exciting to think about that too, is it's
Yeah.
not just going to be you like sitting, taking notes. I mean, she has
Right.
a plan to get us involved, which is great. Awesome. Okay. So,
Well, and just to
again,
say out loud, like that's why we invest so much in the speakers is
mm,
because we want to make sure that this is an experience, right? There's so
yeah,
many incredible speakers in the area that we could bring in, but we want people that are national speakers, caliber that really know how to engage and bring in the audience so that this is an experience like going to a rock concert, right? So
yes.
it's that good.
Awesome. All right. So before I let you go, again, like you can find more about you on it was like number 4 podcast, I think episodes like 4 or something back in November of 2024, when we talked about your political experience. But like, I love that you are able to kind of expand on that. And I know you also do things outside of your job in coaching or mentoring and things like that. So if people wanted to find you outside of the township,
Mhm.
where would they find you?
My website's easy, cherineal.com. And
Yes,
so
let's see,
yeah.
Cherineal. Yeah, and why would someone, go find you other than everything that you're doing inside your community, like someone outside of the community? Why might someone else come find you?
So the people I love to connect with and have conversation with are people that, I raise monarch butterflies. We have a huge zinnia and monarch and bees 2 festival the third weekend in August. I would love for you to just know I want information on that. So, and that's the website for that is zinniaandmonarchfestival.com.
Where's
Uh,
that?
it is. It was one of the one of the things we had to do to become a Monarch City, USA. And so it was another thing where it was like, I don't know how to do this. And the park director was like, I know, but you figure things out, just do it. And then I ended up bringing in a couple of 20 somethings, one the first time, and I just mentored them and they helped to make it happen. It was amazing.
Wow. So that's also in the Zion Township.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep,
awesome.
in the middle of town. It's so
Okay.
good. But, and then the Lake County Joy Summit is lcjoysummit.com. You can go on and get information on that. And then, yeah, for me, I am a transformation junkie. I love, so many of us in my book, Messages of the Monarch, like we think that we're caterpillars and we were born and we're supposed to die caterpillars. And there's so much more to the story, and it's real and it's tangible. And, just, if you're surrounding yourself with people that tell you you can't, or you shouldn't, or you should do this instead, and you're looking to talk to somebody that will just remind you that we're so much more than we even know. Right. And so,
yeah. Oh, and the idea that, the ego and the soul could be equated to the caterpillar and the butterfly, because the ego has zero idea that it's attached to the soul, and the caterpillar has zero idea that it's going to be a butterfly. And the ego consumes and takes, and that's all the caterpillar does, is it fills itself up, right? Yeah. And so like there's just so many like, nuanced messages there of like you trust or have faith that that is a possibility. It for sure it is like become a butterfly, you know what I mean? And there's really no biological, I don't think, or rational reason for nature to do that other than to be a symbol to us that we can be that. And so what a beautiful thing that your book is about that transformation. So people could work with you outside of your political life, right? Or your township life. They could work with you as a coach or get your book or things like that.
But what I really love to be able to do, because my bandwidth is so small, being in full-time elected office, is come in and speak to organizations and groups. And I love like sharing the stories, whether it's about the monarch butterfly or my hike across Spain with the Camino or transformational leadership. I love doing that work. And just to say out loud, if anybody gets a chance to come to Zion, Illinois, within a couple of weeks, one of those caterpillars is getting ready to fly. She just bought her local coffee shop, and she is transforming it into an iconic coffee shop space. It's going to be called the Honeybee Cafe, because our high school is the ZBs. And so, yeah, she's going to have one bathroom that's going to be monarch butterflies, one bathroom that's going to be zinnias. Zion is definitely going to be like one of those, and we're right on Lake Michigan. It's a go-to spot. Come and visit. So yeah, it's just so fun.
Yeah. Well, I know. And every time I talk to you, you legitimately look like you're having a good time. So I know you believe that.
So much fun. It literally blows my mind that you can take something I'm working with a marketer for this time, and she does a lot of others, and she asked what the budget was for a Zinnian Monarch Festival. And I told her about $25,000, and she was like, "You did the entire weekend festival and for 20." I was like, is that too much? And she was like, Cheri, there are communities right next to you that are using $150,000 of budgeted money from the city, and nobody is doing what you're doing. I was like, let's just make this clear. It's not anything I'm doing. It's this little monarch butterfly that people are drawn to, that like every shade, every age, it is magical what we're getting to do. And it's all in response, right? Instead of like, oh, I'm going to do it. It's like, no. Oh, now we have to do this. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's
just being in response to the fact that you're in a line of where they fly.
Yeah. Right.
That's amazing.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks so much for being on here a second time. And I'll see you at the
everybody. The Joy Summit will always be the last Saturday in January at Zion Benton Township High School. We're right on the border between Illinois and Wisconsin on Lake Michigan. We're very easy to get to. And if you show up this year, you'll see me and Wynn, and make sure you come and say hi and give us a hug.
All right. Thank you again, Cheri. Have a great rest of your day.
So great to see you, Wynn.